Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 7. Sorry for not putting up a video last week. I did do matches that week, but they were not very interesting. Even the victory I got was against someone that was pretty under-equipped compared to my units, and so there wasn't really much to show off. I kind of just stomped a person, so it wasn't very entertaining. And my losses weren't very entertaining either. As always, I'll talk a little bit about my loss prior to this fight, though. Pretty much, I failed to assassinate a Bernhardt, which kind of hurt me, which pretty much ended my fight. I did get some practice with Marielle, which was kind of cool, but the biggest, I guess, lesson to learn is if I intend on assassinating Bernhardt with Zerda and using sneak attack, make sure I don't poke the Bernhardt with somebody else and make it so I can't proc sneak attack. I was literally 600 damage short from assassinating him, so if I had kept sneak attack, I would have actually gotten the kill. Anyway, so we're going against Benatora here, and again, this is at the earliest time bracket. I get to see kind of more, I won't say normal because it's not normal would mean meta, but I guess a standard like mixed box essentially, where it has a little bit of everything and has some tank pushing in it. And if you can look in here, let's see, we got 1, 2, technically 3 tanks, and then a little bit of AoE. Has a young Jessica of all things, so props to the person that's actually using young Jessica besides me. There's other people that use young Jessica, but not very many. Speaking of, the week I didn't actually put up a video, I did do a change to the box, so this will be the second week where I'm actually using Helena. My Helena is 6 stars now. Originally I was thinking of making a build using Demon Slayer and just stacking crit, but I wasn't feeling very confident about that. Essentially the idea would be just to be focusing on just AoE purging buffs and possibly doing some additional debuffing. But instead I went ahead and went with Bloodthirster, which does additional fixed damage, which goes really well with her little additional AoE she does. Also, she can also do a lot of terrain manipulation, which could be very helpful against people who like to cover the map with terrain effects, you know, like Old Lanius and Lycoris. So I haven't had really much of a chance of actually using Helena in Apex, unfortunately. Obviously, now that her exclusive armor is out, she's definitely a very high quality band to go for. Anyway, let's dive right into this. So first thing I did was ban Illustrial, and so did my opponent. Obviously this map, Illustrial is pretty good because she can go along the mountains, which gives her a lot of coverage. My opponent went Hilda. So at this point, there was kind of a mix of a lot of things that concerned me. There's of course Yulia and all that. There's Marielle. But I was like, I think since she picked Hilda, I figured I'll go for reincarnation first, and so I went and got rid of Tensei Jessica and got rid of Arian Rod. Took my Hilda, banned my Lycoris and my Tensei Jessica. I'm assuming they probably thought I was actually doing AoE with Lycoris, which of course I don't. Takes Elwyn immediately. Which always confuses me, but this actually kind of makes sense in hindsight, mainly because he does have a faction buff that covers a lot of pretty much everything else in this box, just about. The only thing it doesn't cover is Bernhardt himself, who he can buff himself, so it's not a big deal. It also doesn't cover Juggler, but Juggler can also buff himself, so it's not a big deal. Not sure about Old Lanius, but again, he can buff himself. So at this point, I got rid of Bernhardt. I didn't really want to deal with his tankiness, and I didn't want to deal with him closing in and doing AoE heal negation, essentially. And of course, I didn't want to deal with Marielle's extra legs and potentially guard bypassing me. I went and took my Marielle. There was a lot of options I could go for. I wanted to at least ensure I had some sort of guard bypass. This was, like I said, this was after a match where my Zerda failed me. So I didn't exactly want to second pick Zerda because then my opponent would just adapt to it. So I was like, alright, let's go Marielle. They'll give me a little additional heal coverage if I need it. They went ahead and banned my Helena at this point and my Florentia, and went ahead and took Yulia. I'm always concerned about Yulia because magic damage is rough, even against Cav. At this point, I got rid of both Act Again healers. This will also force my opponent to pick a healer, so this will give me a little bit of additional flexibility as far as what my final bans are going to be. I took Sophia. I had two choices. I could have gone Rosenseal or I could have taken Sophia. Sophia has better single target healing than Rosenseal. And since there's a lot of potential dispelling here, the extra healing that Rosenseal can do with her crystal buff could actually be dispelled. So I felt like it'll probably be best to go ahead and take Sophia. Also, this will give me additional buff coverage if I do choose to take someone like Young Jessica. At this point, they take care of my Meteor faction, which is fine. And they go ahead and take Rosenseal, which is completely fine by me. The only other option would have been to take Young Jessica, which Young Jessica by herself is not going to be able to do enough healing. For the most part, as you can see from the box, it's a lot of just melee single target strikers that are going to do a lot of damage. At this point, I went ahead and got rid of any potential guard negation nonsense that Juggler can do, as well as AoE. Also got rid of Helena because Helena can definitely do a lot of nasty AoE nonsense and a lot of debuffing, and I don't really have a lot to deal with the debuffs at this point. Take Naomi. I had a lot of options here. I was very concerned about what sort of band I was going to be left with on my last pick. My opponent could have gone Patsier and Young Jessica, in which case I would be stuck with a healer and a tank, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would also make the fight a bit of a slog and a slugfest, where I'm just slowly tank pushing with very little DPS. But my opponent went halfway. They got rid of Young Jessica, got rid of Rosenseal. Now, assuming my opponent knows a little bit about Patsier, obviously there's only one male character that I have to deal with, and my opponent took the last female to ensure that I didn't get any additional buffs with Patsier except against Elwyn, which didn't bother me. I was completely fine with taking Patsier. Even against female characters, Patsier is still a mage that has Dark Reaper, or whatever it's called. Is it called Dark Reaper? Yeah, Dark Reaper. Anyway, so Young Jessica, using pretty much my kit, my standard single target kit. No AoE or anything like that, which I guess is a bit surprising. Usually if anyone's using Young Jessica, it's usually AoE, but obviously there's no AoE backup here. Elwyn's standard with faction buff. Yulia went 3 cost. I swapped out of 3 cost with Yulia because I honestly don't think it's worth it, because you do give up an additional attack. So I actually go 2, 2, and 2 with Yulia. Rosenseal all heals. Hilda faction buff with War Goddess. I mean, I have 2 melee strike. I have a tank and 1 melee striker, so I guess that's a thing. But yeah, pretty much the standard there. Hilda, same thing. I went War Goddess, but obviously it makes sense a little bit since my opponent has more melee strikers. Patsier, standard. Took Lucid Dream, Dark Reaper. I did take Lightning Strike. I think originally I had, what did I have for my other slot? I also don't remember what her other slot was. Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, I remember. It was Charm. Originally I had Charm, but obviously my Charm only works on male characters, and L1 can potentially become immune to all debuffs. So I went and dropped that and took Lightning Strike since there was a chance that my opponent was going to have cavalry of some sort, because obviously they're going to try to mitigate any potential, anything that takes advantage of spears. So I took Lightning Strike with her. And then for Naomi, I swapped out Fireball for Free Strike, because obviously Hilda is probably going to be spears. And then standard Mariel and standard Sophia. So nothing too out there for this. Anyway, so going to this fight, the main thing I would kind of wanted to do is start baiting out Young Jessica's long-range strikes, because they're going to hurt. But if you can run her out of her cooldowns, you can actually buy yourself a turn or force her to cycle buffs, which will also weaken her significantly. So it's kind of just taking that into account. Assuming that she has the staff that extends range, when she goes into siege mode, she's going to have 6 range with her skills. Alright. So didn't even go faction buff, went straight for guard first. I went ahead and moved in with setting up my long range with Naomi. So right off the bat, my opponent gets a breeze. Yep. So already a 30% proc. Give me 1 second. Alright. So getting the faction buff up and running. And main thing I was counting, obviously I was a little concerned about young Jessica, but the main thing was Elwyn, because Elwyn has high mobility. Also, speaking of procs, Breeze proc got overwritten with a Tenyo Breeze, so now she has even more movement. So her range is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to there. Now, like I mentioned, I was going to try to provoke young Jessica to go ahead and start blasting ahead of time without any additional... Because the big issue is getting a hit with young Jessica and then being a hit with a follow-up. So I wanted to go ahead and provoke some sort of attack. Now, if you guys have seen me play with young Jessica and Naomi and stuff, I tend to use a lot of cleanse. And usually the idea is to hopefully get rid of a potential good buff. But usually that never happens with me, ever. So just want to point that out. So I went ahead and moved in, did Light of Rebirth, get my faction buff up. As for the move range of Elwyn, he is using same troops, so he does get +4 movement with his little Reign of Glory. So he can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Could he? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, I miscounted that. Now, it's possible that Patsy is still sort of safe against Elwyn, just simply because she takes reduced damage against males. So that is probably why he didn't decide to rush in. Or maybe he just didn't want to rush in to kill Patsy, thinking that she was the weakest. Don't know. In any case, I'm able to reposition. At this point, I'm in range of the cleanse and fireballs. At this point, I put up my faction buff, so I want to go ahead and let's take a look at our buffs. I don't think the cloak can be dispelled. It cannot be. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 buffs on me right now. So 9 buffs on her. At this point, I took a step forward to get ready for going after. Essentially, I needed to get in range with Marielle. So got hit with cleanse. Cleanse gets rid of 2 buffs, and the buffs it got rid of were my attack buff and my guard buff. So now my Marielle is not being guarded. Now the good news is Elwyn's already moved, and so has Yulia. Oh, speaking of Yulia, she got a breeze proc. So that really made everything worse for me. So at this point, I am going to lose Marielle. There's a good chance I'll lose Marielle. She is in Forest, but against Elwyn with Sword Soul, it's a guaranteed kill pretty much. I mean, the other thing that protects her is the fact she does have the reduced damage by 25%, reduce all damage taken by 25%. So she is reasonably tanky at this point. But at this point, I was like, I need to make some decisions here. So the plan here was to try to at least force him to make a decision. And so I went ahead and first I healed to try to get Hilda as topped off as possible. Yeah, as you can see, they're already getting prepped to strike with Yulia. Essentially, they're just going to swarm in at this point. So I went ahead and moved in. I was going to use my cleanse. You want to guess if I get rid of their their guard buff? The answer is no, I didn't get rid of the guard buff. So I got rid of... I don't even know what I got rid of. I think I got rid of the Fury of Tier, which is useless. And there was probably one other. There was probably an immunity buff that I got rid of, maybe. I don't remember. In any case, her guard buff is still up, mine is not. Actually... Oh no, I did take down her guard buff. I didn't realize that. Didn't really make much of a difference. In any case, I moved in with Naomi, so Naomi is also outside of guard range. And so my opponent decided to be a little cheeky. And instead of going after my Marielle, decided to move in with Yulia. And use her, her unique skill, which also makes it so everyone gets a reduced mobility. There's a pretty good chance that if she had attacked Marielle, she would have gotten a kill. But instead, she went straight for Naomi. And I think the idea was to make it so I couldn't move with Marielle. That way I stay outside of guard range. Also, I can't... And if I move Hilda down, I'll end up giving up guard on other characters. But honestly, if she was going to do this... I'm not sure if she could have gotten kill, though. That's the thing. Was Zealots at full HP? Well, actually, with a fixed damage... Yeah, I think there's a good chance she would have gotten kill. Because the only thing that really keeps Marielle alive is the fact that you need you need her at 100. You need her at 100% life so you can get the damage reduction from your troops. Because with troops and of course commandment, you're looking at like that's 55% damage reduction just by itself. In any case, with this, I went ahead and just Dark Reapered. So, even against a female character, Patsy is still a mage. She's faction buffed. Her int is reasonably comparable to the mages that are already out there. And it's Dark Reaper, which negates partial magic defense. So with that, it was enough to just one-shot Yulia. The reason why I opened with Patseer first was it was kind of my only opening with Patseer, and also if I had attacked with Marielle first, there was a chance I would not have gotten kill. And so I wanted to at least make sure I get her HP low enough to, you know, get a kill. It does show a res for this, but I believe it's only against fixed damage. I think it's from her special helmet, or it's not her unique helmet. It's just a helmet effect from one of the later items. All right, so instead of Elwyn attacking, goes ahead and does Fireball. Doesn't get kill. Like I mentioned before, I take 55% reduced damage, and I'm in Forest. So I actually took quite reduced damage there. And reasonably okay M defense, not the best. It's enough to at least survive, it looks like. So at this point, I heal up with Enduring Faith. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish off Yulia. This will get rid of my commandment. Even with my 50% reduced damage, it's enough to finish her off. So now I don't have to worry about Yulia. So all that's left is Elwyn and Young Jessica. Young Jessica is really the only threat. And it's only now that Elwyn chooses to charge in. I think... So yeah, a bunch of my buffs are going to get dispelled. It's Sword Soul, that's fine. It's not going to do anything. Elwyn does not do anything to Hilda. So yeah, he was up here. He could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he could have reached Marielle and attacked with physical, which I don't know if he had a Twilight Star or not, but if he had Twilight Star, it would have been a guaranteed kill. Without it, maybe he would have done enough damage. It's hard to say. But this trade-off, the bad luck that I had earlier with losing guard and having a bunch of breezes be used against me is kind of finally balanced out. So it's 4-on-4 again. They kind of burned all their stuff. Young Jessica's stuff is on cooldown, so she's going to have to pass turn and then get her extra action to get any sort of cooldown up. I went ahead and did rewind so I can get buffs reapplied. And then, of course, Crystal Ward here. But at this point, I'm kind of safe. Since I just rewound, I can get my guard buff back up. Young Jessica is not going to be able to get well, she'll be able to get cleanse up if she needs it. At this point, I went ahead and attacked Elwyn. The purpose of this was hopefully either to get a kill and or push him away. And pushing him away was my main goal. And my opponent decided to go ahead and go with Young Jessica at this point. And so, passes turn in place, didn't do damage, therefore it procced his unique item, gave him an extra action. So he now was able to do Fireball or Cleanse. I think he does Cleanse. Yeah, he does Cleanse. I don't really mind either way. So all that's left right now on turns is Elwyn, Hilda, and of course Rosenziel, who can't do anything besides heal. Part of the reason why I did the push was so Elwyn was in range of allies, that way he can't self-res. And I still have a Pat Seer. So I move in, and I use Lucid Dream, which bypasses guard if it targets a male character, and that finishes off Elwyn. Hilda tries to get revenge, but I'm at full HP, so I was able to tank it. And if I wasn't at full HP, I'd still be able to tank it because I have the little magic robe on me. Yeah, so that Young Jessica is definitely doing some damage. Like, I'm not actually able to keep up with the damage that's happening, but the combination of the heals, the passive heals I get from Crystal Molders is kind of making this work. And since Cleanse has already been used, I don't have to worry about being hit with it again. So I went ahead and put up guard again. And at this point, my goal was just to get to the center, because Mist is close again. So getting heals, getting some extra defense buffs. My opponent's falling back at this point. It's 3 on 4. The only threatening DPS they have is Young Jessica, who's quickly burning through, who's already burned through her faction buff at this point. So her damage is going to go down quite a bit. I went ahead and attacked with Pat Seer, did Dark Reaper. Thankfully, Thorns didn't proc that time. And at this point, I kind of blocked them off. Comes Fireball. So yeah, as you can see, it's already doing less damage. It used to bring me down to like 6,000 HP. Now I'm still in the 5 digits. I mean, like I said, her damage is still impressive, but she lost her faction buff, so it's just not as good. And then the 3C is worn off on Rosenziel, which I was completely fine with. Went ahead and attacked just to proc the crit negation passive. At this point, my opponent has to reapply faction buff, which is fine. Alright, so this time Thorns did proc. Did Lightning Strike, which does extra damage against the Cav unit. And I went ahead and went down here. Did Enduring Faith just to get healed up to full. And also to cycle my cooldowns. And I did my 3C. I specifically attacked in this way to make sure I get the buff that you get if your attack is guarded. So now my next attack will be increased damage and bypass guard. Also, it was enough to go ahead and get my first kill on Hilda. Now, one thing I just noticed is Young Jessica decided to attack, which means she's dead. She literally can't. She's dead. She can't. The only way she would survive is she got a breeze proc, which she didn't. So she's stuck. Next round, the Mist is going to be on top of her, and the only way she can possibly move is by passing turn or transforming again, which unfortunately makes her end her action in the Mist, which will kill her. So my original plan was to go after her and kill her with guard bypass, but I don't need to now. That Young Jessica's dead. So went ahead and did some mass healing. Unfortunately, my Marielle is out of faction buff, so chances are I'm not going to be able to get kill. But I went ahead and attacked anyway. So pretty good damage. Like I said, I didn't have I didn't have a faction buff up, I don't think. No, I did. Never mind. It's just I didn't do enough damage. It was against Shrine Maiden, so that's probably the main reason. Oh yeah, I guess this is something to note. I have the new armor on Hilda, which is essentially it kind of functions like Areolis Mail and was it the Blood Mail, where actually I could go ahead and show it off since the battle's over. Here's the stat report. Yeah, so Young Jessica was all the damage, pretty much. Obviously, the one that actually got any kills was Yulia, which I was quick to finish off. If I had gotten rid of Yulia, she would have wrecked my tank. And majority of my damage actually came from Patsier of all people, even though majority of the attacks were on a female character. So even against you know, female characters, Patsier is still a mage, and most characters can't take magic damage that well. So something to be aware of. Anyway, let me go ahead and show the armor. Any experienced players will know what armor it is, but essentially my Hilda is using Forbidden Defender's armor, which doesn't give plus HP, which kind of sucks, but it does do both the defense and magic defense, and usually, and when forced into a battle, there's a 30% chance I can reduce damage taken by 20%. This is very similar to what she had originally, which I think she had Blood Mail. Bloodline Magic Armor, which had a 30% chance of reducing just melee attacks by 30%. And then, of course, there's Aeolus Armor, or Aeolus Armor, that does it for range. So the main benefit for this armor is it's a little less reduction, but it works on everything, ranged or melee, which gives a lot of flexibility. So pretty good stuff there. Not much to report about events. I did majority of the challenges. Unfortunately, there was one that required male characters, and again, which was really annoying. Not much I can do about that, unfortunately. Also, my guild is in the top 16 as far as the stupid expedition thing is. I don't really like the expedition. It's super grindy. But it did get me. It will get me an additional 20 or 40 chance scrolls, which I desperately need more enchants. I am currently working on. I'm currently working on what's her name? Altina. Just to get her to 6 stars. Sissy White, and then I'm also working on Maya. Trying to get them maxed out. I just recently got Pyrotess to 6 stars. I don't really plan on using her, but at least she's now maxed out. Besides that, it's just been working on enchants and training. I've gotten a lot of the master trainings done finally, which is definitely making a difference as far as making my characters bulkier. I am also making preparations to try to get assassin training done, as well as Earth Elf Knight training. Essentially, I'm trying to get ready for Cherry, who's going to be the next SP class after Alta Miller. And then as far as like gear is concerned, I've been having pretty good gear drops, and I'm mostly just getting ready for Kayura, who's coming out next, and I'm also getting ready for what is her name? Her name escapes me. Just when I cut the recording. Lucretia. Lucretia will be the next non-collab character that's coming out that I definitely want to pick up. Essentially, she's kind of a power creep of both Lana and Young Jessica. So I'll probably be dropping Young Jessica to replace her with Lucretia at that point, which does kind of put me in a weird situation a little bit. While I have a really good Origins tank and faction buffer, I'm actually running out of Origin. I'm gradually phasing out Origin characters in general, and even if I wanted to bring them back, there's actually not a lot of Origins characters for me to pick from. I think there's like 12 or 13 female characters. Most of them are about a third of them are healers and tanks, and a lot of them are just not that good. Speaking of replacing Origin characters, I did the character I had replaced with Helena was Toa. Toa is just a little too difficult to use. Her guard bypass is kind of neat, but it's super restrictive, and I can only do it with if I have Hilda as a tank. So I don't even treat her as an Origin faction. I do know that Freya is going to be getting a 3-cost skill eventually, and it's a better faction buff. It's a really good faction buff, in fact. But unfortunately, even when that comes out, there are going to be no new origin characters, or at least no new female origin characters. And unfortunately, that's going to put me in a situation where there's no real point in me bringing Freya anymore. I'll be pretty much when the new princess tank comes out with her faction buff, I'll be changing the box up. I'll probably be going princess and reincarnation at that point. Obviously, I'll have a mix of other things to try to take advantage of as many faction buffs as possible. But that's just some things to take a look at in the future. Besides that, yeah, there's only about looks like be about 2 more weeks of this. So until then, everyone, I am The Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 7. See you guys later.